like, we need to be organizing people who don't understand themselves to be feminist, right? Like, and providing, but who like understand those values, who can relate to it, who understand the things that are frustrating in their lives, that are the things that are hard in their conditions, right? But like don't necessarily identify as feminists or don't necessarily identify as leftists, right? But we can connect with people across those experiences and find those spaces to bring people in and along. And I think that really needs to be a fundamental part of our work, is how are we connecting with people who may not even understand themselves as being invested in societal change, but are connected to the pain of their own experiences, and how can we bring people into the collectivity of change, of doing that systemic change together. And I think that, like, you know, organizing is fundamentally about breaking isolation, and our society, you know, the conditions of neoliberalism feel so relevant to what is different about organizing for feminism right now, and also the real challenges of this pandemic, and so how are we like helping people break out of those isolations and that alienation, and bring folks into movements that both help transform their own lives and make that systemic change happen. And I just wanted to name, sort of thinking about the sort of the feminist values around collectivity and collective care and community care, and the ways that everything about this moment like requires that of us, of each other. I lost my words there, but like, in order to get through this, like fundamentally we have to like put other people like ahead of ourselves, and we need to like take care of each other, and we need to make decisions that aren't about my own well-being or health, but are about the well-being and health of other people. And it's so contrary to like neoliberalism for that to be how we do things, and that it feels really clearly why we're having such a hard time with it. But even just the very act of wearing a mask is so contrary to capitalism and neoliberalism. The idea that we would wear a mask knowing that it is not protecting us, but it is protecting someone else from a thing that we may not have, right? And I don't know, just something, the practice that we need to do, that we're getting in doing that for each other, feels really important about this moment, and is one of the openings that exists here. I lost the thread, but I'll land there. Wearing masks is a feminist movement.
Good. Just quickly, Drew, you're so right. And I think that part of what I hear when you're talking about that is how the idea of coming together to get through this is around the health issues is being situated is directly opposed to opening up the economy and recovering economically. And so your question about how to get people who share feminist values and feminist goals to recognize, to see themselves in a movement is, I think it's a really critical question. Thank you.
And I think, like, particularly, you know, like I spend a lot of my life right now talking to workers who are either lost work or who are working in really hard conditions right now. And the reality of like who are essential workers, like they are women of color. Like disproportionately, that is who is continuing to work through this pandemic. They're care workers, they are nurses, they're working in hospitals, they're cleaning houses, they're working in grocery stores, right? And so as we think about reopening the economy, I think there's a question of like, who are we culturally willing to sacrifice, and how do we make an intervention around that as all of us, right? Because I think that is really what we're up against right now. And that is like, through whatever ways that we can, like our obligation to respond to and step up to in this moment.